This episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast is brought to you by jbox.com. jbox.com carries the hottest and newest anime console video games straight from Japan for you to enjoy. You can browse their selection of hundreds of PS4 and Nintendo Switch games and discover some hot new titles such as Catherine Fullbody, Summer Pockets Reflection Blue, Konosuba Legend of Crimson, Little Busters, Living with Maid, Flowers, Hatsune Miku Project Diva Mega 39s, and Danmachi Infinite Combat. You can get so much more. So head over to jbox.com for all of your anime and video game shopping needs. And now, let's start the podcast.
来てくれてありがとう You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at aaapodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Uh-oh. Hi guys, sorry. I didn't realize our camera's all screwed up. Sorry.
That's okay. Part of the charm.
Mason, would you like to introduce us as I try and fix everything?
I would love to. Welcome everyone to the 534th, I'm going to guess, because, 534th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. This is definitely not off to a rough start because it's just Mandi and myself today. We are manning the booth and pressing all the buttons to try to get this thing to work. And by that, I mean Mandi is doing all of the work. I get to relax and take it easy and get none of the blame nor the glory. But we're holding the fort down. We're having a good time. We just recorded a fantastic little hobby addict show where we talked about a ton of games, and it was a blast. And we talked about books, and no one liked that part. But we had a good time. And now we're just, here to talk about anime. You can find us, if this is your first time joining us, welcome to this start. You can find us at aaapodcast.com, where you can get all of those extra content episodes, such as hobby addicts, hentai episodes, and a ton of after parties like we're about to record. We record on Twitch live every Sunday at 5 p.m. EDT, as well as, you can see us on Facebook, and most importantly on Discord, where we have a huge community where we just talk about everything. We have so many channels to talk about games and sports and movies and just all sorts of anime. So we'd love to have you over there. We're doing it live. We're having a fun time over on Twitch. So we're just going to keep on stalling for time. So what do we do on Discord? Well, all sorts of things. But the big things coming up is we have 2 big movie watch parties set up. So the first is July 31st, which is just about a week from now. We're going to be watching Battle Royale, the acclaimed, esteemed death game OG movie. We're going to be watching that at 10 p.m. EST. And on August 21st, I'm getting suggestions for the best, worst dubs of all time. So the dubs that are so bad that they're actually kind of funny, and we're going to have a good laugh about that. So we have drinking games, bingo cards set up, and just jump in the chat, and we'll meme it up and have a good time. We also have seasonal watch parties where we...
We're fixed. I'm so sorry, guys.
Fixed.
It's weird because I just did them before we started, and the second I pushed, go live, all the cameras just turned off. And I don't know what happened, but we're back. I fixed all the frames. Don't worry. Don't panic. It's okay.
Hashtag save the frames. Mandi, my co-host, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Everything kind of blew up the second I pushed play, but I'm doing all right. It's hot in here, but I'm excited to be here and talk about some anime goodness. And Mitz is not here today. He is out, but it's just I think we can do it.
I think from starting now to the rest of the show, it'll be smooth sailing. So I think we'll have fun.
Give me a little bit of give me some patience.
Exactly.
We'll get this, but
we'll reward you later. With, stuff. Anyway, Anime Club, we're watching Humanity Has Declined next on July 29th. So if you want to watch that show and then jump in the chat and discuss it, I think it will be very interesting. So that's my little spiel.
Awesome. Thank you for leading us in as I fixed everything. But yeah, so we also have my manga club, and that will be Wednesday, August 5th, and we will be discussing volumes 1 and 2 of Witch Hat. Oh man, I can never pronounce this because I
want me
always
to say it, or
yes,
you got it?
Go ahead.
Atelier.
Adelaide.
LA.
I always said Atelier, and apparently that was wrong, and they told me in manga club. Sorry.
I think Atelier is French, and Atelier is the...
Adelaide.
I don't know.
It sounds cool and fancy, whatever it is.
It won an Eisner Award.
Yes.
If that's not enough of a reason to check it out, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and I have done a manga minute before in the past, and it's such a lovely, charming book. This is one that I put down on the list for us to read. I'm so excited because it's out of everything that's currently publishing, it's definitely one of my favorites. So yeah, what are Mason and I going to be talking about today? Well, we decided we're going to do a studio spotlight on Studio Shaft, and we have done these in the past for some other studios, which we will mention later on when we get to our main topic. But yeah, we'll just be going over a little bit about the history of the studio and just talk about some of the works that they have done, the ones that we have seen and our favorites and stuff like that. And then after that, we're going to start our first round of summer anime impressions. So it's just Mason and I today, so we're kind of doing most of our own picks, and then the others are gonna have to pick up the slack when they come back.
Yeah.
But we'll be doing impressions on Uzaki-Chan Wants to Hang Out, The God of High School, Great Pretender, Umayon, and Rent a Girlfriend. So stick around for that, and it's gonna be fun.
I think so.
Anything else that you would like to mention before we move into big news?
No, let's hit it hard.
All right. Again, it is just me today. I don't have Mitsuki's equipment, so a little bit of a delay on the drops, but I'm trying my best.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Alrighty, so for big news of the week, we have, actually this is one that I've seen some people passing around on Twitter and talking about on some other sites, but a news article came out on Netflix's bigger budgets have not been trickling down to the actual animators. So character designer and key animator Terumi Nishi was recently interviewed by IT Media regarding the effects of foreign investments on Japanese anime. And she has previously spoken out about the financial issues with working in anime and the disappointment with the industry, which we have also mentioned many times on this podcast with a bunch of different studios. But according to her, budgets on Netflix's anime are roughly twice or three times the amount of a regular anime, but those funds are going towards capital investments, and animator wages have not raised accordingly, and production companies don't seem to be thrilled about it, which I can't even imagine why.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've seen this discussion coming up a lot, and we've always talked about this with the anime industry, that animators are just not getting the amount or not being paid the amount that they should be for, the work that they put in, and they're overworked even and not getting any additional funds for the extra amount of work that they're putting in. And so man, it was interesting conversation to see what other fans are saying, well, what can we do to help? And the sad thing is, it's not really much we can do to help.
Yeah, and it stinks because you're like, oh, well, I have Netflix, that's supporting the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it certainly is going, to the industry at large, but the people who are making the art that we're consuming are still seeing as paltry sums as they ever did, which is not surprising, unfortunately, but it's still upsetting. And I think there's, a lot of the animator housing projects and stuff, things trying to get extra assistance, because I think they were saying half of new animators are still relying on stuff from their parents to just live, or they're even living with their parents, just because making art just isn't sustainable in the industry.
Yeah, and because there are always two different kind of arguments for this. It's like, some people who want to help support the industry throw more money into it, and it's like that's putting more money in there, as we have just seen, isn't helping. Throwing more money in it doesn't mean that the animators are going to be getting paid more for their work. So that sucks. But the other side of the argument is, well, I guess I'm just going to pirate everything. But that's also not a solution, because then they're not getting any money for their work. So it's like, it's really hard for consumers who want to help, because it's not really much we can do. But I'm not an expert, obviously not an expert on this, but I think probably the best thing that can be done is that I think it's going to have to come from within the industry, and a larger push for unionizing is what I see. I don't know. But again, I'm not an expert on that, so I don't know what steps need to be taken in order for that to be achieved. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we move on to big news?
Yeah, in the chat, Zero Roke was asking, what counts as, capital investments? Where is the money going with these stuff? And it's mainly a lot of licensing stuff, because Netflix doesn't get the right to distribute it, for home release and stuff like that. And just, sure, you get Netflix getting the money, but that money goes back into Netflix and the whole, making those agreements. So none of it is going into the production. The shows are not getting improved in any way from a technical or visual or audio standpoint. So we're not seeing any of that money, and obviously neither are the animators. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know. It's something that we just need to keep in mind.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely important to keep up to date with it, and make sure that people are aware of what's going on in the industry, and hopefully hopefully a solution will be found down the road, because it sucks. There's a lot of just animators not getting paid what they should be, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we can go ahead and move on into Good, Bad, and the Moe.
Hit it.
Howdy, partner. I seen you riding in on that dusty trail. Welcome to the good, the bad, and the Moe.
It's all yours.
Thank you. So for the good this week, we have two actual 15-year anniversaries. First up is the 15th anniversary of the Noitamina programming block. So this is obviously the kind of late night programming block where they do a bunch of adult and more mature and just interesting content. Some of my favorite shows of all time come out in this block, and it's funny, the first show that came out on it was, I believe, Honey and Clover, and the creator of that, Chika Umino, who also did March Comes In Like a Lion, drew the official Noitamina mascots, which are called Mina and Noitan, which obviously makes sense, and they're adorable. And if you go to the news article, you can look up what they look like, and it's very cute. And they had a poll of, in each of the 5-year segments, what were the fan favorite shows in each of those years. And the winners for the first block was Mononoke, which we've definitely talked about on the show before.
Yeah.
Great show. The second block, which I think is the most competitive, that one with Psycho Pass, another solid show. And then the most recent 5-year block was Banana Fish, which not a bad pick either.
Interesting,
so I'm
yeah.
pretty happy with those. I mean, if you just go to the Noitamina page and look at what they've come out with, 2010 alone had House of Five Leaves, the finale of Nodame Cantabile, Shiki, the Tommy Galaxy, and Princess Jellyfish, all in the same year, back to back. That's absurd. So I'm a big fan of Noitamina shows, and there's a bunch of special edition promotional merchandise and items out in Tokyo and stuff like that. So good for them. And the other 15-year anniversary is a new Arya film was announced. This is a classic series done by Junichi Saito, who has done all the previous Arya works, and if you've never heard of him, he's the master of the Yashike, super relaxing, comfortable shows. He did Tamayura, Amanchu, Hugto Precure, and obviously Arya. But his earlier work include little-known things Princess Tutu and Sailor Moon. So he's kind of
little ones,
kind of a big deal, and he makes great stuff. So I'm excited to have Arya back. It probably, I don't know, I feel like it's slept on by a lot of people, and not just because it's slow and boring, but it's actually good and relaxing, and has one of the biggest mic drop moments in all of anime. Highly recommend checking out some of those shows. So check it out. But there's a new film coming out that's called Arya, I'm going to mess this one up, Crepusculo. Those were both wrong, but you can look it up, and there's a lot of the same cast and staff and actors are returning. That should be releasing in spring of 2021, so I'm excited for it. Have you seen any Arya?
No, I have not. I need to, though.
And in for a treat. That was like my daily, like, one episode before bed kind of show for a while, so it's that kind of thing.
Awesome.
And did you want to mention the G4 comeback?
Yeah, so gaming technology TV channel G4 is coming back in 2021. The technology and gaming focused channel was teased on Twitter last Friday, saying that it will be making a comeback in 2021. So far, we don't know what form that return is really going to take, but many fans are anticipating it. I've seen it shared all over everything. A lot of people are excited. But the channel launched back in 2002, and back then it also streamed some anime titles such as Ultraviolet, Razafon, Cromartie High School, Colorful, and Viper's Creed, and there were other ones, but the channel shut down in 2014 and was rebranded to Esquire, as far as I know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what form the new G4 channel will take and what kind of entertainment it'll bring to us.
If they just show reruns of like Ninja Warrior like 10 hours a day, so Mandy can finally experience it and I can just rewatch it, that's all I'm looking for. That's all I want out of that.
Yeah.
That's all I need to be happy. Please make it happen. For the bad this week, we have the film Children of the Sea is not coming to theaters. G-Kids announced that it has canceled the August theatrical screening of the Studio 4C's film, and they're saying, obviously, the world is what it is. It's not safe to go to theaters, therefore we're not going to show it, which is the right call and a good decision. So I'm not saying that that was a bad call, but it is a bad call because this movie absolutely deserves to be seen in theaters. I've seen a version of it, and this visually is one of the best looking films out there. It's directed by Ayumu Watanabe, who did Space Brothers and After the Rain, and it's next level. Like Joe Hisaishi did the music, who did Studio Ghibli stuff. Like, this is a visual and audio feast. So they said that they hope to bring this film back to theaters in the future. So if they do bring it back, I'm going to harp on you guys to go see it, because the plot was fine. It's a little goofy and weird and strange, but like, it looks so phenomenal that I think a theater will really do it justice. So keep an eye out for if that ever gets back into theaters. And finally, normally this is the Moe segment, but I'm going to call it the Mugi segment. Attack on Titan series is collaborating with an Oita-based sake brewery, Oimatsu Brewing, to release 2 types of barley liquor, and the word for barley in Japan is mugi, so that's where it comes from. So there's 2 bottles, Enma Red and Enma Black, and essentially it's because the Attack on Titan creator is born in the Oita prefecture, which is where the brewery is located. So these bottles have artwork from the manga all over them. They look pretty badass, and I'm sure people might want to get their hands on them. You can pre-order them through the company's website, and I think they're released on August 1st. So I think they cost about $16 if you're in Japan, but it might be a little more expensive if you want to get them stateside. But I don't know. I like seeing collaborations like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much drinking there was in Attack on Titan, but I don't know. I still like it.
Awesome. I saw that under the news when I was looking through stuff, and I was like, that seems really cool. The bottle designs are also pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think one has like a Titan on it, and one has like the Survey Corps. So pick which one you prefer.
Alrighty, so we do have our website trivia. If you'd like to participate, you can go to aaapodcast.com, and if you scroll down, there's a little picture there, and we usually crop it out of some anime, and if you can guess what anime that picture is from, you can win prizes at the end of the month. And we always do a theme. The current theme is, what are my lesser-known favorites? Me, the Mandy. We started with Mitts.
Not me being you, the listener.
Yeah. Me. Mine, not yours, mine.
This next one is a good one. It's a good show. So
we started with Mitsugi, the Mason, and now it's my lesser-known favorites. And the answer for this week was Samurai Champloo. So, Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's one of the anime that really got me to develop a passion for anime, because I did watch anime before that one, obviously, but it at a much slower pace. I think this is the one that got me to branch out and try different things. But this week's winner is Bartholomew 7. So congratulations.
Huzzah.
We have a couple more weeks, I think, left in mine. One more week.
I think this is the last week. So if you know Mandy, or if you think you know Mandy, go to the AA website.
They're all Hunter x Hunter.
It's spoiler. It's not Hunter x Hunter.
Spoiler. It's not. That's not lesser known at all. I tell everybody about my love and my passion.
Exactly. Not on the website though. We have another in-show weekly trivia question that we will play for you while you wait for our news break to be over. So think about it. It's the easier of the two, so this is the one to try on, I think. And it is, in the Monogatari series, people know Shinobu as an 8-year-old that loves donuts. However, what is her full vampiric name? I just put this so Mandy has to say
I know,
it.
I knew that's why you did it. I was looking at it, I don't know how to say that word.
I believe in you. Anyway, think about it, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Hey everybody, this is Mitsugi, and I'm here bringing you your anime news, starting off with some Netflix news. Netflix is going to be in the news a couple times today. They announced that they are going to be debuting Aggretsuko, the anime Season 3, on August 27th. Aggretsuko, one of Mason's favorites, is about a 25-year-old red panda who works in her dream company's accounting department, but it turns out that she is forced to keep doing more and more impossible tasks by her superiors and coworkers. She doesn't talk back, but still has to let off steam, and so she ends up going to karaoke by herself and singing death metal. Comedy show, very enjoyable, cute art. If you're a fan of Aggretsuko, look out for that coming to Netflix on August 27th. Next up, well, we all know Nezuko from Demon Slayer, and we all wonder who would play the live-action role of Nezuko. Well, a poll came out that featured many, many votes, and it turns out that Kana Hashimoto has won the poll quite easily, I would say, to play the lead role as Nezuko. Now, I don't know if this actually means that she will be playing the lead role or if it's just who the fans think would be a great fit for the role, but I will say that looking at photos, she is very cute and does look exactly like Nezuko, so I think that she would play a very good role as that character. Kana Hashimoto performed as Ritsu in the Assassination Classroom live-action film, Kagura and Gintama, and Kaguya and Kaguya-sama Love is War, and other roles as well, so very popular actress besides. Next up, Starlight Review did have a live event slate planned for this year, but they have been canceled due to an arson threat. They were scheduled for the 25th, 26th, and the 26th in Osaka and Chofu, Tokyo, respectively. They canceled due to, quote, various circumstances and will be offering refunds, thankfully. However, the official website for the Hanan event, which was the Osaka event, said that the city received an email threatening an attack on the hall, Sarada Hall, where the event was going to be performed. The email threatened, quote, an indiscriminate murder, arson, terror attack at the venue. So the city officials revoked the event license and decided to close the entire hall during the 25th, just to be safe, I guess. So if you were looking forward to that event, either in person or maybe over the internet, you will no longer be able to enjoy that, at least for now. Next up and lastly, Vampire Miyu Saku, the manga, is ending with its 7th volume, so fans of that, enjoy the last volume that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. The manga begins with Miyu transferring into a certain middle school in a town where there is a rash of student disappearances, And as darkness slowly begins to creep on the town's normal everyday life, a group of young boys and girls get together to get to the bottom of the mystery, but they end up encountering Miyu. So it looks like this manga started back in December of 2017. It was launched on the Champion Cross manga website. So if you're a fan of Vampire Miyu Saku, it's coming to a close here pretty soon. This was Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, getting back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, jbox.com carries the hottest and the newest anime console video games straight from Japan for you to enjoy. You can browse through their selection of hundreds of PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch games and discover new hot titles such as Catherine Full Body, Summer Pockets Reflection Blue, Konosuba Legend of Crimson, Little Busters, Living with Maid, Flowers, Hatsune Miku Project Diva, Mega 39s, Danmachi Infinite Combat, and tons more. Tons more. I can't read them all here. It's impossible. But if you head over to jbox.com, you'll be able to browse their huge selection, do a little bit of shopping, make yourself feel good while we're all indoors, find some great entertainment for yourself, and you'll be supporting the podcast as well. Again, that's jbox.com for all of your anime and video game shopping needs.
Hi, this is Kate Oxley, voice of Akane Tsunemori in Psycho-Pass, How Guilty Are You? And I am a total anime addict.
And we are back. So I do apologize. I don't know. Look, guys, I'm really bad with Discord and I don't know how to fix things on the fly. One day I'm going to figure out, I promise. So I am making edits as we go along. But the question before we went on break was, in the Monogatari series, people know Shinobu as an 8-year-old who loves donuts. However, what is her full vampiric name? And I do know like what it is. I don't know how to say it though. So Mason thankfully gave me a clip where they just keep saying her name, so let's listen to it. Maybe. Hato and Bledo.
I was like, I know how it's like typed up in English, like Kiss Shot, Arcelero, Orion, Heart Under Blade.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't sound right.
The
like,
Acelerola is hard to say. It sounds like a car name.
And it goes from the Acelerola right to Orion, so it's like Acelerola, Orion, Hato Under Blade.
Hato Underblade is the only part that I can say. I always just call her Kiss Shot, so I have, act like the rest of it doesn't even exist.
There you go, just mumble the middle part. Yeah. Kiss Shots and the Blade.
Kiss Heart Blade. Mm-hmm. No, Hato Underblade. That's my favorite part of the name.
Nailed it. Yeah, it's classic. So.
Alrighty, so now we have my manga minute, so I'm just gonna go ahead and jump on in.
And now, let's take a minute for the Manga Minute with Mandi.
This is Mandy's Manga Minute, where I take a minute to tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called My Senpai is Annoying. It's such a funny name, I love it. But Igarashi Futaba's new job would be great if her senpai, Takeda Harumi, wasn't so incredibly annoying. Futaba hates his laugh, she hates how big he is, and she really hates he treats her like a little kid. Just because Futaba is short and looks young doesn't make her a kid, and just because she spends so much time with Takeda doesn't mean she sees him as anything but an annoying senpai, right? My Senpai is Annoying is a romantic comedy webcomic, written and illustrated by Shido Manta. The webcomic has been collected into volumes and only recently started publishing in English. And we currently only have one volume available in print, with volume 2 releasing in September. So the webcomic was originally released in color, and so the printed volumes are also featured in color. So if you're watching live, I'll show you on stream. Everything is in color, although they kind of have like a, I don't want to say watercolor, but it has like a very washed appearance to it, more so than like, you know, full comic book style. But My Senpai is Annoying is a very light comic about adults working in an office. Futaba is pretty short and she has a very youthful look to her. Her senpai Takeda mistakes her for a child when they first meet, and that's something that Futaba has never been able to forgive. But this comic is split into short stories about the pair as they work and grow closer together, and despite Takeda being annoying, he's still a very good-natured guy, and Futaba starts to develop feelings for him. And unfortunately, I will say that their age doesn't mean that the characters are more mature than your usual rom-com protagonists. Futaba is your very typical tsundere, scared to admit that she likes Takeda, and Takeda is your typical oblivious guy. So there isn't a heavy plot line to it. It's full of rom-com tropes, and there's no sign that the two will ever eventually develop a relationship. Keep in mind, I've only read the first volume of this. I did see some little snippets of the manga later on that did kind of have a bit more of a mature feel to it. They might develop into a relationship. I don't know. But as far as volume 1, I was like, this is never going to happen. But yeah, if you like the genre, tropes and all, it is a very light read with some laughs along the way. Each chapter is easy to jump in and out of, and so you could read a chapter after work for like a little pick-me-up because it is very lighthearted. There's also an anime plan by Doga Kobo, and that is... No, I'm sorry, they have not set a release date for it, though. It's not determined. Probably next year. If we're hearing about it now, I'm going to assume next year. But yeah.
The coloring on it, I actually really like the look of. Mm-hmm. I was like looking through it, and I feel like so often like the webcomics, they just kind of use the paint tool and just like splotch stuff in, and this looks way better than that. So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was going to be a knockoff of like Ori Monogatari with like the big dude and the small, and I was like, oh no.
I originally got this because we talked about it. I think we mentioned it in our new anime releases maybe 2 weeks ago, or it may have even have been last week. I have a very short memory span.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
When it comes to our podcast, I'm like, I don't remember anything I said last week. So. But yeah, we mentioned it not too long ago, and the reason why I got it is because the two remind me so much of me and my best friend in high school. Because people who don't know me, I'm only like 5'1", and my friend was like over 6 feet tall. Like he's very, very tall guy. And so we were just like this, where, like whenever we walked around, if you're watching live, you can see what the two look like on the front cover. We were just like this. So
I
had to get
he
it.
rode around in his backpack, just like.
We would always make that joke. It's like he would just lift me on his shoulders.
Oh man, if like. What's the Marvel movie with like Groot and Rocket Raccoon? If like that would have been a great cosplay setup. Anyway, let's argue just for a little bit, not too long.
Ready to argue?
Not too long. I'm ready.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
So this section of anime arguments, I can't even talk today, oh my goodness, comes to us from Cream Puff, and they write, Kyubey is one of the main reasons that Madoka Magica is so memorable. It wasn't most of the girls. It was just the animation and Kyubey and the story. So this is kind of, I don't know, like, Kyubey is a very memorable part of Madoka Magica. It's very memeable. Like, I feel like I've seen lots of memes of Kyubey just, like, offering things to people on the internet. Like, I feel like that's how it goes. But, like, honestly, I think Kyubey is one of the least interesting parts of Madoka Magica. Like, he's just there for the exposition to exist, but, like, because of the way that they say his race is, like, he doesn't have any emotions, and he just kind of comes off as this cold, calculating, and scheming, kind of villainous person in the series, and they just say, oh, he's trying to preserve the universe from entropy, and he just kind of is there and exposises the entire way, and, like, they don't even animate him because he talks through telepathy, so it's just kind of a way to have a blob on screen that looks cute speaking. And I don't know if that makes Madoka Magica, like, it's nowhere near what makes it as memorable as you said, the animation and the story, but, like, the characters I think are way more. I think Kyubey's like the least memorable part about Madoka. It's simple to remember, and that's why people remember it. Like, whenever I think of Kyubey, I think he's like a worse version of Kuro from Cardcaptor Sakura. Like, he's obviously more of a teammate to the girls, but he's like bursting with personality. He's always snacking on things. He's always like chiding the magical girls. Like, he's much more of a fun character that I remember more than like Kyubey as some white blob. So I don't know. I think obviously there's a lot to Madoka, and I think there's a lot of memorable parts, but I think Kyubey is just, remains in people's minds because you can easily visualize what he looks like, but compared to the other characters, I don't think there's much to him.
Yeah, I'd say I agree. I guess it's, Kyubey always existed as the, like, because, it's a trope in magical girl shows. A lot of them have that little cute mascot to them, and I think maybe just because in Madoka, that cute mascot is the one that brings so much just horrible things to these magical girls. So that is
things very matter-of-factly and, like, flatly.
Yeah, like, he talks about, never mind, I almost spoiled things. I don't want to spoil things for you. I almost said it, but, he talks about very awful things in a very monotone, matter-of-fact kind of way. So maybe with his very cute design, I see him as being very memorable, but I don't think it's the main reason or the main draw that brings people to Madoka Magica. I think if you had replaced Kyubey with anything else, I still think the same message would have been there. I don't think it would have been even, like, any less popular. I don't think so. But
no one just likes the show because of Kyubey.
Yeah, but he is very memorable. Like,
he is.
Like, he is the mascot of the show, I would say. Like, we see it, like, tons of merchandise with him, but I don't think he's the main draw of it.
Yeah, that was it. So if you have your own hot take, unpopular opinion, or thing you want us to argue about, you can go over to the website, go to the mailbag, and submit your anime argument. So thank you, Cream Puff. And I just picked that one because it was short and kind of segues perfectly into our main topic.
It is. It does. We are going to be talking about Studio Shaft. And we have done these studio spotlights in the past. We did... or they did. I said I've only been here for one of them, but the rest of the hosts have done Production IG on episode 173. They talked about Studio Bones on episode 227. They talked about Studio Sunrise on 340, which is so surprising to me that they talked about Sunrise and nobody had seen Gintama at all.
It's a new era. It's a new era.
I know.
You and I are changing the game.
I know, like, that isn't the most. I don't know. Is it the most popular? Would that be more popular in Gundam? No, it can't be.
Sunrise? No,
it can't be.
Gundam is what makes Studio Sunrise the money. Gundam is what gets them the fanboys.
Gintama is very popular, though. So it is still surprising. I don't care. But, and then what episode did we talk about Kyoto Animation? I don't know, but, the appreciation was on 484, the episode.
Yeah, I don't know if we did a spotlight on them or we just kind of bundled that together. I wasn't too sure, but so if you like those studios, that's where you can go back and find more info about them. But, we figured with Mit's gone, with Enzo not here, I mean, this is the best time to do Shaft. Shaft is probably by far my favorite studio as like anything they put out, I will watch it, no questions asked. They kind of give me a very similar vibe as like Trigger. Like it's a smaller studio that's just oozing personality.
Yes.
And like they're never going to be given the big shot Shonen Jump. They're not a Studio Bones. They're not a Madhouse. They're not going to get that big budget thing that they can just ride for.
And before they get a big shonen, we're going to clip this.
But like, I feel like they have to like, I don't know, like fight to make their stand. They have to put their personality in it. I'm going to try very hard to not say aesthetics a lot this episode.
Ooh, so good.
But considering, those are the 5 words I know. Aesthetics, and butchering every other word in the alphabet. But like that's so much of what they have to offer. So I figured I'll just start off with the history, kind of give a lowdown of what Shaft started out as, and then we can kind of go through their works and talk about them.
Yeah. So also Studio Shaft just has this very distinct style to them. You could always tell when you're watching a Studio Shaft show, and there's so many kind of just little what's the word that I'm looking for? Signatures, I would say, that we all like. Whenever you see them in other anime that are not Studio Shaft, you're like, that's that Shaft head tilt.
Yeah. I hope you guys all stretching out your necks, because I'm ready to tilt all day.
Yeah, they're so memorable, and when we do get to the anime that they have done, I have not seen all of them, but I feel like I've seen most of the big ones. But hopefully, between the two of us, we can cover a big portion of them.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I've seen shows from over 165 studios, and Shaft is right at the top of the list of my favorites. So I got a soft spot in my heart for him.
Close to top. I think KyoAni is my top one, and then Shaft beneath it if you look at like by score.
Nice. So Studio Shaft was founded way back in 1975 by a former employee of Mushi Production, which was like Osamu Tezuka's studio. So they did like Kimber the White Lion and stuff like that. And essentially what they did for like the first couple decades was they were doing like cleanup work and doing coloring work for larger studios such as Sunrise and Tatsunoko Productions. And they kind of released a couple like early OVAs back in the day, but they were mainly just like collaborating with Gainax on a lot of the TV shows for most of their history. And that kind of all changed in 2004 when Hiroshi Wakao, the guy who founded it, stepped down from the role, and the guy who was brought in also brought with him Akiyuki Shinbo. And this is where things get excellent and messy, because this is kind of where Shaft kind of started making their own shows, but at the same time, Shinbo has kind of been the nebulous role of chief director. So sometimes there's series directors, there's episode directors, and there's chief directors. And he's kind of had a hand. He's had a play in everything that Shaft has come out with. And it's very hard to tell how much of the things that we find so iconic about Shaft, so many of the visual gags and styles that we see, how much we can attribute to him and how much we can attribute to the fact that Shaft is, for the most part, a very small team that stays together, and they just allow creativity to feed within them. So how much he is a creative influence versus just a person who plans schedules and stuff is very hard to tell, because it's such a hotbed of creativity. But I thought that before we get to Shaft's works proper, it's worth kind of outlining Akiyuki Shinbo's history before coming to Shaft, because I think a lot of people who enjoy what Shaft has to offer could also enjoy some of his early works. As Mandy reps a JoJo t-shirt like a badass.
Yeah, before I had to fix the cameras, I had it just positioned just right so you could see my shirt, and then when I had to fix the cameras, you can't see it anymore. It's covered up by my name. So I was like, look, guys, I have a JoJo shirt.
I am JoJo.
And also, just because of quarantine, my hair has grown so long, it's covering it up. And I'm like, go away. This is going to get fixed really soon. I hate it. Anyways.
Nice. Excellent. Anyway, so Shinbo. So the first thing that I wanted to bring up, and just because he didn't direct this, but I think Mandy might remember it, is he was heavily involved with Yu Yu Hakusho as a episode director, and he did mainly the Hiei fights, like in the Dark Tournament arc. So whenever there was like the darkness or whatever of the Darkness Flame, Dragon of the Darkness Flame, maybe
Dragon of the Darkness Flame, yeah,
really like dark settings with like the flashing black and white lights, like a lot of that stuff with like where the camera that kind of like followed the panning shot of the attack, that was a lot of his stuff. And that was,
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
if you go back and watch it, you can kind of see it, but
Yeah.
he definitely in the next like decade will kind of develop a thing. So he also did his first series that he did was actually the first series for JC Staff, which has kind of grown into a massive studio. But he did a show called Metal Fighter Miku. Metal Fighter Miku. And this is, I don't know, it's a pretty cute show. It's a roller derby, like women's pro wrestling thing about these girls who get into like mecha armored suits and fight, and they train constantly, and it's definitely a product of its time, but I thought it was pretty sweet. It's definitely enjoyable. It's not full of his influence yet, but it's still a pretty good first step. If you want, then he went on to do a ton of OVAs, Tenemonia Voyagers with Studio Pierrot, Starship Girl Yamamoto Yoko with JC Staff again, and Detetoko Princess with JC Staff. And out of all of those, I'd recommend Tenemonia Voyagers. It's about these three characters. One is a teacher who goes to like a distant starship to teach, and they shut down the school right as she gets there, and she has no funds to get back. So her, a student, and this like vagabond pirate have to like hitchhike their way and commit crimes to get back to Earth across the galaxy as they get chased.
What? That sounds amazing.
It's a ton of fun actually, and I don't know, like it's definitely like the start of a full series that never got made. So it's kind of depressing that you don't get the full series. But as like, I think it's only 4 episodes long.
What's the name of that again?
Tenemonia Voyagers.
Cool. I need to remember this
Voyagers.
because
Yeah,
that sounds
Studio
really
Pierrot.
cool.
That was back when Studio Pierrot really like gave a damn, and it looks super good. It's bouncing and just constantly moving, and it's probably not the most Shinbo thing he's done, but it looks fantastic. Detetoko Princess is similarly, it's kind of funny. It's more of like a fantasy princess goes across the land eating pudding, and they attack people who work out because working out is the devil. But
again, something else I'm gonna have to watch. That sounds really cool.
I think you would enjoy those two. But the first thing he did that was a full series that is the most Shinbo thing to ever exist is a thing called The Soul Taker in 2001. And this is done by Tatsunoko Production, and I encourage everyone who likes Monogatari to at least watch the first episode of this series. As a whole, the plot's kind of weird. It's like a Devilman Crybaby meets Hellsing Ultimate meets Monogatari. Like, it's very much just weird, the iconic like flashes of color. You have the cross fetishes, you have eyeballs, you have weird architecture, you have like the faceless background characters, you have photographs that are like put into scenes to kind of replicate stuff. You have like single color lighting across the thing. You have extreme camera angles, aspect ratios, like everything that Shaft you know them for, the head tilts, it's all in this thing to the most extreme form. So I highly recommend episode 1. The rest of the series, drop it whenever you feel like it, but The Soul Taker is definitely very worth checking out. And the final thing he did before coming to Shaft, and the thing that actually brought him to Shaft, was Les Portraits de Petite Corset. Wow, I'm going to try that one more time.
You got this.
Les Portraits? I'm like reading the whole word at
Le
once.
Portrait de Petite Cosette.
Thank you. And what she did with like this small studio called Dame. And that's like a 3-episode thing. It's kind of got the Lolita fashion with like, think of like Pet Shop of Horrors kind of situation.
Ooh.
It's really well done. I highly recommend it. It's definitely he did just to kind of get that studio used to making something. And he's like, I can throw something together. So definitely Soul Taker and Petite Corset I would highly recommend for like pre-Shaft works that Shinbo did that you can definitely see a lot of what Shaft would go on to offer. So with that, we can actually move to Studio Shaft is now actually making shows. They've brought on Shinbo, this, super prolific guy. He's making tons of shows every year, and I figured we'd talk about some of the ones he's done. And I'm not sure what you've all seen, Mandy, so I'll run through them, and if you see anything that you've seen, just be like, hey.
Yeah, real quick, I
I
was making a note of all the things on here that sounded interesting, so I don't forget them, and hopefully I can watch them for the next whatever you've been watching episode.
Okay. Well, I will say when we decided to do Shaft for this episode, I was like, ooh, there's a bunch of these OVAs I haven't seen. And I would just probably watch like 8 of them in like the past 4 days to like learn more about it.
Awesome.
So the first show they did was called Tsukuyomi Moon Phase, which is
Well, that
the
sounds
first
familiar.
of the young girl vampire stories that they're in Romania, they're in the Gothic castles, and they meet this girl and they're like, hey, let's go to Japan. And they're like, okay, let's go do that thing. And it's essentially about this girl who tries to possess this guy, do the classic vampire, like bite into the neck, you are my slave now. And this dude is so clueless to spirits and like the mystical that it doesn't affect him at all. And she just gets super pissed that it doesn't work. And they just tag along together. And it looks cute. I would say it's worth watching for the opening. The opening is very much a Shaft opening, all of which are amazing, but this one is very iconic. I didn't love the show a ton. I think it was kind of drab. It's just kind of another watch the first episode, see the visual style of it, and decide if it's for you from there. But it definitely wasn't my go-to.
It sounds cute. Tsukuyomi.
It is. Moon Phase.
Moon Phase? I was going to look up pictures of it. Because, man, what is it with Shaft and vampires?
Listen, Shinbo likes young vampires. It's just the thing, and we'll get to when that's a good thing and when that's a bad thing. But I don't know. It's pretty cool looking. One, I'd say check out the OP.
Yeah, again, it has a very Shaft like visual flair to it. Looks like.
Yes.
Cool.
The next one was a comedy called Panty Pony Dash.
I've heard of this.
Which would make Mitz's eyes pop out of his
sockets.
sockets.
Oh, for sure.
This is the high-octane comedy show, which is just constant cute girls going off the wall, references being thrown left and right. It's a, I don't know, more colorful version of Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, but I think it was just a little too out there for me. So another one where it's like, I can recognize why people would like it, but it's just not my thing. So have you watched any of it?
No, I just know it by sight. I haven't seen it, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of these I haven't seen until we get to like the Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, but some of these I've been meaning to watch and they've been on my list that are coming up.
Gotcha. Well, we'll skim over the next couple. Rec was like a 9-episode thing. It's all right. Probably worth checking out if that's your style. Hidamari Sketch, I think you would definitely enjoy, Mandy. This is about 4 girls in high school just doing art stuff. Mostly not doing art stuff, mostly just their time outside of art, just hanging out together, being a bunch of... If you like the look of Madoka Magica, it's done by the same... This is the mangaka.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very square faces, very wide with thin pupils, and once again, not my cup of tea, but very relaxing, very funny. I think you might enjoy it.
How does it compare to Azumanga Daioh?
So both those shows are just not my cup of tea. I couldn't finish Azumanga Daioh, and I could finish the first season of this, so I would say better. I mean, it's less comedy and more just kind of slice of life, I'd say.
Yeah, this is the one that...
Gag.
Okay, yeah, this one is the one that people got mixed up when I said that I was watching Sketchbook Full Color.
Yeah.
Because apparently there are 2 about, like, 2 different anime, different studios that are about a group of girls in a art club, quote unquote, but don't actually do art. So
yeah.
So yeah, I need to watch this one. But yes, Sketchbook Full Color was not something that I really enjoyed. So, but this one, again, the designs of it at least look like I don't know, something that I probably enjoy more so than Sketchbook.
And I think it's worth saying before moving on that very much everything Chef does is your mileage may vary. Nothing is a safe show. Everything seems to be pushing a style in some way that will either you'll click with and be like, yes, this is visually exactly what I was looking for, or this is too noisy, too chaotic, not my jam. So I feel like despite me saying, oh, I didn't really like this show, I didn't really love this show, and me still saying Shaft is my favorite, it's because so much of their stuff lands that the stuff I didn't like doesn't dissuade me from liking their other stuff. And I'd rather that they always push the envelope and just maybe not be for me than just kind of play it safe all the time. So with that, we can move to Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, which we both have seen. And I don't know if this was one of the earlier Shaft shows I've seen, but it easily has to be one of my favorite.
I'm trying to, I think, I'm trying to think what my first one was, because I haven't seen Nisekoi either. I think my first Shaft one was probably Arakawa Under the Bridge, I think. So, I know this one came out before that, but I didn't see it till later. But, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is main character voiced by the great Kamiya Hiroshi, who speaks very quickly. As you'll find out, he's in a lot of Shaft shows.
Well, I think him and then the voice actress that usually is coupled with him, they were in this show, they were in Monogatari, and they were also...
Arakawa Under the Bridge, because the mangaka for Arakawa Under the Bridge is his wife. So, but yeah, I don't know how he just always ends up in Shaft anime. Maybe they just love him. But so this one is about a teacher whose name kind of translates to despair. And he's always very depressed, nihilistic, and has a negative outlook on everything in life. And comes up against one of his students who is just cheerful, bubbly, and she always has a positive outlook on everything. And it's about like the teacher just interacting with his group of students, and some bizarre stuff of course happens. It's very very visually distinctive. Like, it's very unique looking, I would say, more so than anything else that I have ever seen. And it's they censor some, I wouldn't say censor. They always put the mangaka's portrait in there too. It's really funny, but
and, like, the editor is always like popping up with his face.
Yeah, and it has also just some weird like visual flashes sometimes that like especially in the OP where it's very abstract, and it's interesting. Though I remember Mitsugi hated it because Kamiya
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, Kamiya is a very fast talker, but also he is good at yelling. So, man, Kamiya is one of my favorite voice actors. Everything that he does, I'm like, I'll at least give it a shot.
Yeah, so of all the early Shaft stuff, I would say Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei gets my pick for, like, definitely check this out. It's done by Koji Kumeta, the manga, who is the same guy who did Kate ni Kaizo, which is another OVA Shaft did, and also the recently airing... oh my goodness, Kakushigoto.
Yes.
So if you watch that, it's a very similar style of humor, but it's very smart, very witty. I actually read the manga to completion, and it has probably the wildest ending, especially to a harem, even though this is not really a harem show that I've ever seen in my life. I would argue that the openings for Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei throughout its run are the best openings from any series, like, collectively. They constantly are making changes, constantly making references to earlier stuff, future stuff, changing the visuals. It's definitely, you could see where the art from Madoka Magica was like developed in those openings. So Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei is definitely like early Shaft. If you've never seen one of their shows, a good place to start. It's very dark humor, very... Yeah,
I was going to say that.
Reference. So, like I say, Shaft does not have a identity in like the themes or like the style of their shows from like a storytelling component. Like if you go to a Ghibli movie, you're expecting to learn about nature, to learn about oneness, about relationships. Shaft kind of holds their stuff together visually more than theme wise. So if you don't like one show, you can always move on to the next. So
I would definitely say, just as a tiny bit of a trigger warning, it does have a lot of dark comedy in there. Some of it does revolve around suicide, so be aware before you go in that it might touch on some topics that you really might not like. So but yeah, it is worth a shot though.
Yeah, and I would say all these things are worth a shot, and within a couple episodes, you'll know if this is not for you or not. Next is F, A Tale of Memories. I know some people really like this. I was kind of iffy. It's more of a romance show. I'll be vague and just say check it out. And
this has been on my watch list for a long time. I just never got around to it, so I need to do that.
Yep. Next up is Maria Holick. which is a comedy which has a single premise, which either is right up your alley or a no can go. So that's about a girl who goes to a all girls academy, looking to live her, I think, a lily colored life, they call it, because the whole joke of the show is that she also likes girls. She's into girls and she's at an all girls academy, and she just is like, wow, these girls are the cutest. And she finds one that's really pretty and she's like, you're my dream. We're going to have a relationship. This is beautiful. And it turns out that the one girl she really falls in love with is a guy who's cross-dressing just so he doesn't have to leave the school, just because he likes the school a lot. And that's the whole joke. And there's more nosebleeds in it than I've ever seen anywhere else. It's definitely well done for the episodes it is. I just thought the joke kind of wore out its welcome after a couple episodes, but
Yeah, I can see that.
it's cute. Give it a shot if it's your thing. I'm going to say that a lot.
The character designs are really cute. Main girl is very cute. So
She is.
I might try
And
it out.
she's
We'll see.
sprouting blood almost every scene. It's kind of funny. Like, her inner thoughts is pretty cute. Next up is Summer Storm. Once again, we're at the iffy part of the shows that really connected with me. I didn't watch enough of it, but it's about a guy and a girl who kind of connect, and they figure out that the girl, spoiler, is a ghost from back in time, and they can travel through time to solve issues, and the issues mainly revolve into him playing pranks on people that he shouldn't have. And they are like, you shouldn't have done that. And they go back in time and do paradoxes. And it's worth watching just for this huge magical girl transformation scene where she transforms from a girl wearing a school outfit to a girl wearing a school outfit. Like, she just goes back into the same clothes when they go back in time, but the transformation sequence changes nothing about her appearance. And it's very funny to me. So a lot of people enjoy the show. It's fine. I definitely deserve to watch more of it, but I just haven't got around to it. So that was Summer Storm. But I think the next one, what we've kind of been rushing to, is the first big one that a lot of people know the series for, which is the entire Monogatari series, specifically Bakemonogatari, which came out in 2009.
Yeah.
This is a doozy.
Yeah, so the Monogatari series is very long, and there's always debates on how you can watch it, whether you watch it in like broadcast order or chronological order, because it doesn't release in chronological order, and there's always debates about that. But Bakemonogatari is the first one that I watched, is also the first one that came out, so it's very safe to watch it as as it broadcasted.
I recommend starting with that.
Yeah.
If you can, I would say do it in broadcast order if I had to pick one.
Yeah, and let me see. Shaft has adapted 2 of Nishio-san's series, correct? This one and the beheading cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So these are the 2 I believe that Shaft has adapted, like, series-wise.
They didn't do Katanagatari.
Yeah.
Zaragoto, thank you.
Yeah, so Bakemonogatari is, it's a very popular series in the anime community, and, of course, for the character designs, loads of cute girls, loads of waifus.
This is the best collection of waifus in the history, I think, of any show ever.
And I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is where Shaft really started to develop their own unique style that was very noticeable and like noticeably different than anything else. And like the kind of visual metaphors that they would use in their their shots, and the way that it's directed and presented, with also like the flashing screens with text and everything. It started to become kind of like a Shaft signature, like this is the Shaft thing. And it's there are, of course, some seasons of the Monogatari series I feel I like a whole lot more than the others. Like, they're not all my favorites, but Bakemonogatari, and I think now my brain died. Not Ore Monogatari.
Your favorite?
Yeah.
I mean, Owari Monogatari is probably my favorite of the entire series, which is the final 2
Yes. I'm sorry. I got it mixed up with Ore Monogatari because I just talked about that a couple weeks ago. I was like, Owari Monogatari. Thank you.
Yeah. I think what happened is pretty much besides F, A Tale of Memories, up until this point, all of these have been either adaptations of a manga or some other thing where the art has kind of already been established. So the Monogatari series is a light novel, which meant they, for the first time, were really able to design the characters how they kind of wanted to, I think. Yeah. And I think that kind of led to, along with their appreciation of just how wordy Nisio Isin can be, and really respecting that, and they're like, okay, we need to have all this dialogue in there. That's essential to the core of the work. And this is a very wordy show, don't get me wrong. And I think the lock of having to have all this dialogue, but still have to think of some creative way to present it, kind of forced them into taking all the skills that Shinbo has been building up over the years and kind of pushing them into these weird eclectic ways to maintain the conversation without getting too boring. And I think I think in a lot of ways creativity blossoms when you're kind of hampered by something. If I just say draw something, you're like, well, I've got too many ideas, I don't know what. But if I say draw something but you can only use 2 colors, like you almost are forced into more creativity. And I think that's kind of what happened here. And I think, I mean, Bakemonogatari and the whole series has become an icon in the world. I mean, every store, every piece of merchandise you can find of the show because people love it, and for good reason. Like, it is iconic, and I think it's kind of a must-watch, even with some of the dark themes and just obtuse things. It has some of the biggest, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like the biggest holy crap moments when things come together. More than, think of like the most epic part of Attack on Titan, or the really like jaw-dropping parts of like Haikyuu when you're like fully invested. The moments just in the dialogue in Monogatari where a revelation is made and it completely rescopes your perspective on an entire relationship that has been building for so many episodes. It is really spectacular what the light novel series did, and I think Shaft's respect for that and how they presented it just is what makes it so iconic. And really, if there's one show that, like, I would say defines the 20 or their whole thing, because they've been pumping this out for a while, is the Monogatari series. So if you haven't watched it, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job with the visuals as a way to communicate like the philosophical nature of Nisio Isen's novel. And delves, it takes like a supernatural situation and to explore different kind of emotional growths, the journey of self-acceptance, and just growing up as an adult, going from adolescence to an adult, and all while keeping a very supernatural theme to it with vampires and not spirits. What am I trying to say? Gods? I don't know.
Sometimes.
There's different things in there.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of supernatural stuff in there.
Yeah.
I do think it can be a bit polarizing sometimes because it is, again, very wordy. And I have seen people who are like, it's just too pretentious for me because it is very philosophical.
I mean, it is very philosophical. It also starts off with a close-up panty shot for the first 2 seconds. So you really kind of have to weigh what you're getting into. Yeah, some of the seasons have a whole lot more fan service than others, and some of those were not my favorite. Yes, there's the famous brush toothing, not brush toothing, teeth brushing scene. It's a wild ride, but I definitely recommend it. If you want to get into Shaft, this is the one that you should watch. Also, when we get to Madoka Magica, that one as well also, I think defines Shaft, but this one specifically, I think, is a much must-watch if you really want to dive into Shaft's history. If you had to pick one show and had a lot of time, I would agree. Watch Monogatari. And I will note, just in case you haven't started it yet, because please do, there's a lot of moments where they flash text on screen. Do not worry about reading it. Yeah. Don't worry about pausing it every second. Just let it wash over you. It's part of the experience. Yeah. Embrace it, and just be ready for it every time. If you go in half-hearted, gonna look at your phone halfway through, like, it's not going to make sense. It requires your attention, and give it, because it deserves it. So
Yeah, definitely a lot of them are just visual flares. They're not like necessary for the experience to read everything that comes up.
and if you're really like, I don't want to read all these words, if you're really opposed to it, start with Kizumonogatari. It's a series of 3 like hour and a half long films with some of the best action that the series has to offer, and it is like the first thing chronologically, so that's not a bad place if you want an easier place to dip in.
Again, a lot of panty shots. Be ready for that, but also flying heads.
Yeah, so that gets punted. Anyway, I think we can move on from there. Shaft in the 2010s. They've just came out with Monogatari. They would continue to make it throughout this decade, but all our comments will apply. First one up is a comedy called And Yet the Town Moves, which on paper is a show that I would not like in the slightest. It's about this girl who is a little airheaded. She works at a maid cafe, and she's terrible at it. She just is kind of not brainy. She's just kind of spastic and a pain, and she just kind of makes life worse for everyone. But she's so funny about it, and she's like wants to be a detective, and she's always being a haha genius.
Is it me?
It's you, but more. She's an absolute derp, and it's genuinely hilarious. Like, there's so many funny moments. Like, there's a scene where she walks into someone's room and there's a bass sitting in the corner. She's like, oh, look, it's a guitar, but some of the strings are missing and they're kind of fat. Is this a beginner's guitar? And the first, like, you just offended every bass player ever. And
that's cute.
I don't know. It's just full of moments where it's like she gets in the way, but in adorable kind of ways. So I actually really enjoyed it. It definitely doesn't look like a typical Shaft show, but it has all the components that makes me love them. So I would highly recommend it. The next one, so this is probably a very hotly debated one. This is when vampires go wrong, I would say. This is called Dance in the Vampire Bund, a 2010 show. And this is a cool first episode. It's a very kind of realistic look if vampires were real, and the leader of the vampires is like, hey, look it, I'm not trying to take over the world, I just want us to live in peace. So if you can just give us this little plot of land, we will live there peacefully and not mess with people. And by the way, we control like all the money in your economy, and like if you don't give it to us, we're gonna wreak havoc on like your entire economic system. So let's try to work together. And then everything just falls apart as vampires and people just try to get along. And it's an interesting series, and it looks pretty cool. The biggest problem is the leader of the vampires is a vampire girl. She's a lolly.
Oh yeah.
And part of the vampire charm is, the violence, but also kind of the sex appeal of things. And while she is shown later in the series, kind of aged up, like Shinobu from Monogatari, they also have her as a child naked earlier in the series. And while it makes sense, like thematically, to see that progression, it is still not a good look. And so I would recommend, if you like the vampire ethos and you want to check it out, watch episode 1. It's very safe viewing. It's very funny. It's very well done. But episode 2, I would either look for a censored version if you liked episode 1, or just be mindful of what you're getting into, because it is violent, but it's the very child-related nudity that is never a good look. So be mindful of that going into it. I don't think it's such a good series where it's really worth going past it. So keep that in mind, but it's not a bad show.
Oh, really? Interesting. Because the way that it looks, and I've heard that it has a lot of fan service, is the reason why I've never watched it.
It's not even like too fan servicey. Like, it's not in your face. It just has moments of nudity, which is integral to the vampire like culture. But it just, I don't know, it still really didn't need to be there. So I'm conflicted about it, but I can understand at the same time. Either way, it is just something to be mindful of. So it's not so classic and phenomenal show, then I'm like, oh, it's worth like watching regardless. But if it's sounds like your cup of tea, and by that I mean a good vampire story, consider that.
Cool.
Next up is an adorable romance with a great opening. Spoiler, all these have great openings, which is Arakawa Under the Bridge.
Yeah, another one that is voiced by Hiroshi Kamiya in the manga, which was I'm trying to remember her name, but the mangaka is married to Hiroshi Kamiya, Hikaru Nakamura. And also, she also does the manga for, what is it, the Saint, the one with Jesus and Buddha.
Oh, Saint Youngman?
Saint Youngman, yes. So it has the same kind of humor to it, where it's just absurd humor, and about a businessman who holds this very like firm belief in like the elite, but he like at the very beginning of the first season, he tries to jump from a bridge and is saved by a woman who says she's an alien with very long blonde hair. Long blonde hair, and about them kind of developing a little relationship and all of the weird characters that they come across.
Kappa's OP, I love him.
Guy with star head, bunch of crazy cats. It's very absurd humor.
This is probably the closest show in my mind to like a Gintama.
Yes, I would say so.
Thing. And I think super strong voice acting, just crazy scenarios, but it takes place in this isolated plot of land where all this absurd stuff happens, and it's kind of a romance, kind of a comedy, but everything it does, it excels at. And I actually really enjoyed this show. Every time I cross the bridge now, I'm like, is that a Kappa down there? Is that a Star Boy down there? I don't know. This show really stuck with me.
There's a bird man named Billy.
There's like the little like maids that like get in fights all the time. Oh my goodness. It's a fun show.
It is a lot of fun. I do think the humor could probably be a little bit too absurd for some people. Nino, the girl who lives under the bridge, she lives inside of like a tent and tries to get the main character to like live with her. It is really funny.
This is probably the easiest Shaft show to. Like the easiest comedy, it's not, there's references, but it's not too obtuse. I think it's just a good time. I think it'll be a little loud and eccentric for people, but
for sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot.
The comedy almost kind of reminded me of Cromartie High School a little bit too. That kind of like absurd humor to it.
Sure, it's a little less episodic. You kind of have a natural growth and things, but I think there's 2 seasons and both are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But next we can move on to, I'd say, the next big must-watch show of Shaft's discography, the 2011 original series, Madoka Magica. Mm-hmm. I mean, once again, phenomenal opening. They definitely had a chance to like make their own work, and they pushed the visual flair to new heights. Just so many textures and just techniques that were never before seen. Very puppeteering, very shadow-based stuff. It's just, I mean, you could watch this entire show on mute and be blown away. You could watch it with your eyes closed, and just one of the most phenomenal soundtracks and voice performances of all time. And like everything came together on this, everyone says deconstruction of a magical girl show, but it's just a phenomenal story from whatever angle you go at it with.
Yeah, it's a dark magical girl show that is more than it seems. And if you have not seen it, which I mean, it is, extremely popular in the anime community. But of course, if you're newer to anime and you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, there's a lot in there that's hard to talk about without spoiling, because I think it's best to go into it not knowing anything. For sure. I think that'll lend to the enjoyment of it far more if you just know absolutely nothing about it going in. But it's definitely one of those where it kind of feels like there's something sinister beneath the surface, and then when you finally figure out what it is, it can be kind of shocking. And I thought it was really cool. And like Mason said, there are parts where it looks almost scrapbookish. Like it looks like things that like kind of like torn out paper. It's just really cool. There's some really cool scenes in there. I do highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, it's like I want to dive more deeper into it, but it's worth going into it kind of with a veil over your eyes and just know you're in for a wild ride.
I would say, I think it's a good way of explaining it is it's a good magical girl show for adults, is what I would say.
Yeah, and it has probably one of the best moms in anime. And the baby brother is also super cute, so check it out. We're going to hand wave it a lot, but it deserves more. You can find analysis videos all over the place on this,
for sure.
So watch it and then check those out. Let's see. We'll run through the next couple. Ground Control to Psycho Electric Girl. I really enjoyed the show. This is definitely going to be very divisive. It's a very cute moe type show about a girl who thinks she's an alien again, kind of like Arakawa. But it's definitely like a deep-seated metaphor for mental issues and stuff like that. One of the best openings, I'm going to keep on saying it because it's constantly true, but it's really good. I could definitely see people being very much this is terrible or just falling in love with it. So I enjoyed it. Obviously all the Monogatari series would go on to come out. We can talk Nisekoi a little bit, which I think as someone who is not a fan of harems, I actually really enjoyed this. I think this is one of the best quote unquote harem shows because I don't know.
Yeah.
I think everyone just is so well done.
This is one that I have not seen, but it's been on my list for a long time. I think just because I'm not a big fan of harems, although it seems weird because a lot of things that I like do seem like harems, but they're definitely not. I'm not a big fan of a harem anime in general, so it's always been on my list, but I always end up pushing it to the side for other things. So, I definitely do want to check this one out, though.
I think it's because it knows how stupid the like typical harem setup is, and the fact that everyone just kind of has like they're all kind of just friends together, and they just happen to have interest. I think I don't know. I enjoy it. I'd check it out. It's probably one of the best looking chef shows. Like it's not very like in your face or like inventive in like weird avant-garde ways. It's just a great looking show. So recommend that. Mecha City Actors is all right. Kofu Graffiti, if you want the like pinnacle of food porn, that's a pretty good show as well. And then the last two I just want to talk about are probably my two favorite things that they've ever come out with. And by ever come out with, I mean across any studio ever. First up in 2016 and 2017, they did March Comes In Like a Lion, which is one of like a couple shows I've ever given a perfect score to. I mean, yes, it is a slow show about shogi and mental distress and depression, but it is also one of the most heartwarming, family-centric, Catapalooza, phenomenally done, beautiful works of art, and I absolutely adore it.
For sure, and I think if you don't like the Shaft, as Mason says, aesthetic, if you don't like it, if it's just too weird for you and you're like, I kind of like just more traditional animation, I think this is the Shaft series that you should check out because it's not like, I would say, it's kind of weird saying weird. As like it's not as weird as some other Shaft shows. Doesn't go so far outside the box, but it's just a very heartwarming series, which it still does have a bit of that Shaft visual flair to it in some scenes. But it's a really good series. It's by the same mangaka that did Honey and Clover. So yeah, you do have that kind of like family focus on family in that one as well. It's really good.
I feel like most Shaft shows kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, know they're an anime and kind of make very meta anime references or in-jokes or aware-esque things.
For sure.
March Comes In very much is separate from all that, and it's just a straightforward story where all the visual stylings are used to enhance the story more than just to throw flair on after the fact, and it's an absolute masterclass, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's probably the best, like from the writing to the visuals to the sound show across the board here. So please check it out. I beg of you. And then the last one is just Zarigoto, the Beheading Cycle. It's a 8 episode or 6 episode.
It's very short. I think it might be 8, but I could be wrong.
I think it's 8 like 45-minute episodes, but this is the other one that they adapted from Nisio Isin. This was the light novel series he wrote before the Monogatari series. And this is a similar, fast-talking, cavalcade characters. This is a mystery story where people are brought to a house, people start dying. Oh no, who's committing all these murders?
Mhm.
And it is so often I want a good murder story in anime, and it just never really delivers. And this is a little different than a classic detective thing, but it is so well done and it's so rewarding. And especially the last 2 episodes where every time you think you know what the answer is, they're like, but you don't. And it's so well done. I would say it's on a similar level of like fan service as the Monogatari series, but it's definitely a little more restrained, and it's so clever and so smart. And I don't know, I think it's definitely slept on. I feel like not enough people know about it because it wasn't really released on like a season. It was like 1 episode a month or something. Like it was kind of hard to keep track of. So Zarigoto, the Beheading Cycle, that's kind of the last real thing they've done in 2016. So I'd check. I don't know. I feel like you could just pick a show at random, watch it, and you'll instantly be like, this show is for me or not for me. So
Yeah, I think that
love
one
it.
that one is also an Nisio Isin. It's very obvious that that's an Nisio Isin property. I would say it has some similarities to the Monogatari series. Again, very wordy, very philosophical. The aesthetic of it is very Shaft, but yeah, it is interesting and a faster watch than some other series. So yeah, but they haven't really put out anything else big since then, have they? Well, they did do the fireworks, or did we talk about that?
Fireworks in 2017.
Yeah.
It's a movie. I talked about it many episodes ago. I was kind of underwhelmed by it. It was, if you want the best version of it, just go watch the like Daoko music video that it came from, or that kind of generated it, and that's kind of the pinnacle. But like, really, all of 2016 and 2017, they were doing the Kizumonogatari prequel movies.
Yes.
So they were busy with that. They were doing, March Comes In Like a Lion through 2018. So they've kind of been finishing up their big works, and they've kind of been in hiding in a sense. I know they've had some production troubles and stuff with probably staffing things. So
And
I think that's why people are like, are we going to get another season of March Comes In Like a Lion? Who knows?
Yeah, and I believe they have some stuff planned for next year. It looks like they have Redmate, Kugun. Oh, that's a long word. Let's just say Luminous Witches.
Yeah.
And a Salt Lily Bouquet. 2 that I don't know anything about, but it says that those are planned for fall of this year and sometime next year. So that'll be interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to see from them before we move on to our break?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to see, like, I just want them to continue to push the mold and try new things and kind of, I don't know. I like Shinbo, obviously. I like what he's done. I like just the team has kind of stayed together and kind of gotten their whole personality into their shows constantly. And I don't even know what I want to see. I guess if I had to pick one thing, the same guy who did Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei and Kaku Shigoto and all those stuff, he did an ice hockey manga. And people want an ice hockey anime, so
That would be cool, yeah.
that would be absolutely wild if Shaft could pull that off. So that's, if I had to pick one thing, that's what I want them to see. But I mean, they have just come out with so much stuff despite being a small studio, and I don't know. I think there's something to love for everyone. You just might have to dig a little bit to find it. So
Yeah, they do have their own like unique appearance to their anime, and they always pick up kind of stories that are that also are outside of the box, just like to match their animation. And I really love Shaft for what they do, and I am excited to see what comes next. And I think now I don't know about you, but I think the Monogatari series probably has overstayed its welcome. I really loved the last OVA that they did, for sure. Was it labeled as a movie?
it was. I'll double check. I thought it was a movie.
It might be a movie. I can't remember if it was labeled as movie or OVA, but I thought that served as a great ending for the series. So I don't know if I would want that to come back. I mean, I probably wouldn't, be upset if it did, but I don't think we need more. Oh, wait, no, we do. We do. I forgot. There is a loose thread in there. We need answers.
There's always going to be answers. There's
a
always
certain
going to be answers.
best boy. We need answers.
And it's funny because I started Monogatari and I just kind of wasn't in like the right headspace for it.
Yeah.
And I watched Baki and I just was like, it's fine. Like I get why people like it, but I thought it was kind of overrated. But I was like, no, I'm going to stick with it. And I'm definitely glad I did. I think it really starts coming into its own on second season, which is third season, but just look up how to watch this series. You'll get there. But definitely by the end, Owari Monogatari is one of my favorite pieces, like the 2-part series. And I don't know, Spooky Oogie is based and Studio Shaft is the best. So
yeah, so hopefully you learned something about Shaft from us doing this and some new anime to watch.
Yeah, hopefully some of those were like, that might be up my alley. So I don't know. I think we've talked about it just like Monogatari a little too long. Let's go to another news break so we can get a big glass of water, and we have a very difficult trivia question for you to ponder in the meantime. So, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei was originally a manga by Koji Kumeta. In the anime adaptation, like we said by Studio Shaft, episode 8 ended with an illustration by another famous mangaka. Who created the ending illustration in that episode?
There will be a picture on the break screen for you to guess.
There you go. So you have that visual guide. So good luck with that, and we'll see you in just a couple minutes.
Don't go anywhere.
Look out, Anime Addicts. Mitsugi is back one more time, bringing you even more anime news. Leading off with Netflix yet again. They're going to be streaming the full Great Pretender anime outside of Japan on August 20th. It has been available in Japan for quite a while. They released episodes 1 through 5 on June 2nd, 6 through 10 on June 9th, etc., on a weekly release schedule. But it looks like you're going to be able to get it outside of Japan on August 20th. If there are fans of you who are waiting for that to be released, you'll be able to watch it pretty soon here. The anime premiered on July 8th on Fuji TV's Plus Ultra programming block, and it's going to be running for 2 cours with a total of 23 episodes. So the story's themes are credit fraud and happy and comedic drama between worldly famous swindlers. So it's described as Japan's greatest swindler. Together with his partner Kudo, they try to trick a Frenchman in Asakusa, but unexpectedly get tricked instead. The Frenchman whom they try to swindle turns out to be Laurent Ferry, a much higher level confidence man, quote-unquote, in control of the mafias. Very interesting story. I know that Mandy is probably going to be doing an impression on this today, so you'll be able to hear more about that when she does her impression. And next up, it looks like Strike Witches, or maybe I should say World Witches, is back on TV in 2021. They're going to be having another anime series coming out called World Witches Take Off. Just like the prior series, Strike Witches 501st Joint Fighter Wing Takeoff anime, it's going to have not really about battle, but more about the humorous daily lives of the girls, and it's going to feature not only characters from the 501st Joint Fighter Wing, but also the 502nd. So if you're a big fan of Strike Witches, get excited. It's coming back, looks very cute, and it's going to be here in 2021. Next up, the police have threatened... What is it with all these crazy threats? The police have arrested a man for threatening Kodansha staff on Twitter over novel submissions. Apparently, a 44-year-old male was arrested after his novels continually were rejected by Kodansha. After only the first screening, he, quote, threatened to smash their heads in with a hammer and chop them up with a cleaver, go to the editorial department and tear them up and riddle them with holes and stab the entire editorial department. Wow. So he has been arrested for, I guess, assault, because that would be assault. So yeah, and definitely just don't threaten people. It's just not good. And lastly, probably a controversial news story. Manga creator Nomio Gyunyu comments on the difficulty of publishing loli content, and I should note that Gyunyu means cow milk, so that's a little bit of a weird name. Saying that it, quote, could be the regulations, but when drinking with a fellow artist, they got to talking about how publishing in mainstream magazines was almost impossible if you're doing loli content. After all, quote, no matter how well they sell, they'll never get an anime, and so the publishing companies aren't interested either. So, and it looks like he's also talking about censorship on Twitter, etc., of loli content. So, manga artists complaining about, I guess, freedom of artwork or freedom of press, I don't know. But it looks like if you are a fan of loli anime or manga, they are not having a great time getting published due to various reasons. This was Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, again, we're going to get back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, the AAA podcast, is always trying to bring you new and exciting ways to enjoy our content, and now we have an exclusive member-only RSS feed on the site that is going to let you access our hentai episodes, our Hobby Addicts, and our After Parties episodes, all from your favorite mobile apps. That's an additional 8 episodes of content per month just for you, and you can listen to it through Apple Podcasts app, you can listen to it through Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Overcast FM, Downcast FM, etc., onward and onward. So many mobile apps for you to choose from. If you were holding back on supporting the podcast because you didn't like listening to our extra content through our website, now you can get it and listen to it the same way you enjoy all your other podcasts. So pitch in, help out the podcast, do a good thing, and enjoy all the extra content we have for you. Just go to aaapodcast.com/join, and you will get all this extra content and an exclusive member RSS feed for you to enjoy. That's aaapodcast.com/join, and support the podcast.
この番組は JList.com の提供でお送りします。
And we are back from our break. God, this beat is really good.
I'm sure it is.
I know you can't hear it, and it's a crime. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's fire. I know it. I know it to be true.
But before we went on break, the question that we had for you was, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei was originally a manga by Koji Kumeta. In the anime adaptation by Studio Shaft, episode 8 ended with an illustration by another famous mangaka who created the ending illustration. So, I made this one. It's super hard. I was not expecting you to get it, but I did provide an image for you to try and guess from, and the answer was Hiromu Arakawa, who is the mangaka for Full Metal Alchemist. And just like an interesting little trivia, every episode of Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei ended with a different illustration by a famous mangaka. Like some of the other ones included Rumiko Takahashi, who did Inuyasha, Kazuhiro Fujita, who did Ushio and Tora, and even Ikuhara did one. So there's, if you look through the list of them, you can find like a list of all the ending illustrations, and they're really cool to see them all. They have like their own little flares to them.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Another reason to watch on Twitch, so you can get your bonus points for
Yes.
those trivia questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you were not watching live. You did not get the visual to help you. But now you know.
Now you know. Well, with that, we definitely talked way too long about Shaft. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Let's keep on rolling. 5-star review time. Hit it.
It's time for iTunes review.
So this review comes from Sure This Is Fine, saying my newest favorite. exactly right. I've been listening to this podcast for about 8 months now, and it has been the perfect way to escape all the craziness that goes by or go on in my day-to-day life / the world. Whether I'm listening to an episode that's 3 days old or 3 years old, it's always entertaining, relatable, and always leaves me with a good recommendation. Well, you got a lot of them today, I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I'm not active in the live streams or Discord, what are you doing? Come on! It still feels like a little family. And thank you for making my anime addiction so much worse, but definitely for the better, and single-handedly keeping me sane at work while everyone else was quarantined.
Oh.
Well, spoiler alert, everyone still is quarantined, so...
That's why my hair is down, like reaching like past the halfway of my back.
Well, even though you're not on the Discord, I still genuinely appreciate it. This was a very thoughtful and well-written review, so thank you very much. And if anyone else wants to leave a 5-star review, we sure would appreciate it. So go on over to iTunes and submit it there, and just receive our love, because that's the best way we can get good feedback and comments and improve this thing and hear back from you guys.
Yeah,
so thank you again.
Thank you so much. And you should also join the Discord so you can come to Manga Club and Anime Club, and so we can get to know you. You can get to know us.
It's a good time.
Yeah. So next we have our mailbags. We are running a little bit. It's amazing that we're running so late with just 2 people today.
I blame me. I'm like, I want to talk about 20 shows that no one's ever heard of.
That's
and you're
okay.
Like, oh, I don't think we really should. But I'm like, oh, well.
But we will try to blow through our mailbags really quickly so we can get to our seasonal impressions.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
So if you would like to leave us a mailbag question, you can go to aaapodcast.com. There's a button there to submit your questions, and we'll answer almost anything for you. So this first one is from Droverson, and they say, keep up the great work. I start listening about 2 to 3 weeks while biking to work. It takes 1 hour there and 1 back as well. Perfect for the podcast.
Well, you can go slower today, my friend. You can ease up a bit.
Violet Evergarden is one of the most beautiful anime, both visually and audio-wise, ever made, and I doubt you could convince me otherwise. They say audio music is probably one of the things that keeps them hooked on anime. And nonetheless, they would like to know what our opinion is on it. You may have done so in the past. I haven't managed to backtrack that far back, just to see, just in case. But again, not sure if you guys have covered it, as I'm fairly new, but your opinion on Drifters would also be appreciated. I just found this artistic style from that anime fits quite well. Regards, Droverson, the Netherlands. Hi, well, welcome. And we did review Violet Evergarden. It was back in episode 430. I was there, Enzo was there, Mitz was there. I don't think Kazuo was on that one. But Mason was not there, so you can get more of his opinions. But the impression for it was also on episode 408. And I loved Violet Evergarden. I think at the end I gave it like a 4.5. I think Enzo gave it a 5. So absolutely. It's gorgeous visuals. The animation was fantastic. Beautiful music, and even though it had sort of an episodic feel to it, it still had some really fantastic stories in there. Some that made me cry, and I got very emotional. So, yeah, I love it.
I'm not going to get too far into Violet Evergarden thoughts. I thought it was pretty good. I was probably the most negative of the crew, but I still think it's a really solid show. I definitely think for every episode that I was like kind of bland or mad with, I was met with a 10 out of 10 episode right around the corner. So I think on a case-by-case basis, Violet Evergarden has some of the strongest moments and episodes from that year. So definitely no one's going to convince you here that it's not visually and audioly an amazing product. I enjoyed Drifters actually a lot more than I thought I would. Obviously, it's done by the same guy who did Hellsing. It's just that with like chibi pop-ups, and I thought it was just a fun show. A different kind of fun than like Arakawa Under the Bridge, but nonetheless like a just cool appeal where they kind of just knew the vibe and tone that they were going for. And if you like your action with more of a comedy tinge, it's I don't know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever reviewed Drifters. If we did, it was before I was on the podcast. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I did watch it, and yeah, it was interesting. I don't think I can't remember like how what kind of score I would have given it, but yeah, it was all right. I think visually it was really interesting. Story wise,
It's a good popcorn
Yeah,
group
I'd say
watch
so.
with friends. Like you can kind of talk over it. You can kind of have a discussion with it in the background, and when something big and bombastic happens, you can turn and be like, "Wow, that was cool."
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, I guess, if I had to go down to my anime list, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. So I was like,
out of 5. I'm sorry. I was thinking out of 10. I was like,
Sorry,
oh
no.
shit. Yeah, I recommend it.
I adapted
3
it
out of
to
10.
Alpha. 6 out of 10, 3 out of 5. It was just a dumb, fun show. Definitely not going to make any year-end list, but
I think I definitely would have also given it like a 5 or 6 if we had reviewed it.
yeah, right
out of
around
10.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Next mailbag comes from B. Steele. Hello, hosts. I was watching the Marvel Iron Man anime, and it got me thinking, what American property would you most like to see turned into an anime? And then they give their idea, and it's better than any of mine, that's for sure. They say, I would love to see a Zoolander prequel series. It would take place at the time where Zoolander was at the height of his male modeling powers.
Ooh.
And the series would dive deeper into the world of male models, probably 13 episodes. So there's my awesome idea. Well, you should probably flesh that out and submit it to our Shark Tank episodes, because
Heck yes.
that's where we do this kind of thing.
You already got a sponsor.
Exactly. But why male models?
Why not male models?
What is this, a podcast for ants? Come on.
I would love it.
I don't know. I feel like so many American or like Western properties that I would want to see in anime kind of already have like a similar equivalent, even if it's not like a direct version. Like obviously Blade Runner and The Matrix have like anime especially made like in their worlds, but like things like Leon the Professional is like a super cool movie, but then you have like Gunslinger Girl, which is like kind of similar to it, or like Terminator or Dread or some of those like beat 'em up kind of movies. So I think there's a lot of stuff you could already see like equivalencies for, but the one I'd really want to see would be like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like the Johnny Depp like psychedelic drug movie about like driving through the West. Like that would be wild. And I think if they like put a like MAPPA style, like, hey, we're gonna get trippy with it and people are gonna do acid, I think that'd be a real cool aesthetic.
You could do acid while watching it.
I mean, that I could just, yeah, that probably would be the cheaper option, to be honest, instead of making an anime. But hey, next best thing.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned male models, because there's also a manga already that exists for male pole dancers, and I would love that to get an anime. Absolutely, any anime on pole dancing, because like surprising little trivia, I actually really like pole dancing. I think the routines are fantastic. But anyways, not the question. As far as like Western properties, there was a comic book series by David Mack called Kabuki. So I think that would actually make a really good anime. But the comic book came out in 1994. And so I think if you released it today, compared to back like when it came out back like 26 years ago, it probably wouldn't seem as original, because that kind of like revenge story has, happened like in loads of other properties. But I think a big portion of that comic book focused on like memories and philosophy and dreams, and the reason why I chose it for this episode is because I think that's something that would have worked really well with Shaft, because a lot of the comic book has some dream sequences that are illustrated with like watercolor and kind of like a scrapbook style and a very like abstract appearance to it, and that's something I could see Shaft doing, so I think that'd be really cool.
Heck yeah. What was that called again?
Kabuki.
Kabuki?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it switches back and forth. There's like some that are like a more traditional comic book / manga appearance to it, and then like the next volume would be all like scrapbooking. Like it was like really cool. I really enjoyed that comic book. Again, it's not a very original story though, but I think visually it'd be really interesting.
Boba Fettuccine in the chat says, Magic Mike anime.
Yes,
We already have Secco boys. That's already the best male model.
because they're all rock solid.
They're all rock hard abs, even though you can't see their bodies.
One of them got a body.
That's true. They are male models, literally. So I don't know. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. So up next, we are going to do our first round of summer impressions. Again, we are running late. We apologize, but I think some of these we can go through pretty quickly.
I think so too.
Unfortunately, if you have not noticed, the season seems pretty light. There's not much going on.
Slim pickings, but we will pick nonetheless.
So you just want to go back and forth?
I think so. Mandy is doing 3 of them today, so I'll let you take the lead.
All right. I'll start with the easiest one for me to do, which is Uzaki-Chan wants to hang out. So this is not one that I personally put on my list. It was one that Miss surprised me with, because I was like, you know what? There's barely anything that I'm excited for this season. Just give me stuff. And so Uzaki-Chan Wants to Hang Out was one of them. It is a manga adaptation and by Engi Studios, or it might be NG. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's ENGI. But you can watch it on Funimation. It is set for 12 episodes, and it's being directed by Kazuya Miura, who recently worked on Kimono Michi, which is something I think we did an impression on. I can't remember, but we didn't review it. I think it failed. So Uzaki-Chan Wants to Hang Out is a comedy about a college girl named Uzaki who is very loud, very playful, adventurous, and she is friends with a boy at her college named Shinichi, who is a bit more mature and quiet, but all Uzaki wants to do is hang out with him, and she just drives him crazy. So when I read the synopsis after Mitz gave me this one, I already knew that I probably wasn't going to like it, because just based off the synopsis, I'm not a big fan of the whole, like, character A just wants to, like, pester character B for the entire show. Like, there are some that have, like, some cute kind of skits like that, but they're not usually my favorites. And so Uzaki-Chan is just so predictable. The comedy is packed with jokes that we have seen hundreds and hundreds of times in other very mediocre comedies. The big joke of the series is that Uzaki-Chan has just a massive chest. And
big joke, I get it.
Yeah. But the rest...
Dekai.
Yeah, like, that's on her shirt, which means just very big. And, yeah, so she has this just massive chest, but the rest of her looks like a child. So already her appearance is very strange. But, like, you'd have to see it to really see how just kind of weird she's drawn. But, yeah, so all of the jokes kind of revolve around just her chest, sort of. And, like, it's just so predictable. Like, for example, one of the short skits is that they go to a mall together, her and Shinichi, and they see like a video game store, and they test out this VR game in the mall, and Shinichi puts the headset on, and the second he put that on, I said inside of my head, how long before he reaches out and accidentally grabs her chest? The answer is 4 seconds. I knew what was coming.
They were just trying to play, if we can't be predictable if we act faster than people can think.
It was so dumb. But yeah, it continues on like that. Uzaki is just so obnoxiously, if I can even say that word, immature, and like for a college kid, even Shinichi is kind of immature, because like Uzaki always wants to hang out with him, so she wants to come over to his house, and he replies with, "A girl in a boy's house? That's so inappropriate." And
Scandalous.
I'm like, scandalous. I was like, keep in mind, these are college kids, not middle school kids. Why is he so like flustered about a girl being in a quote unquote boys' room? Is weird. Anyways, but yeah, all of the art and the animation is so mediocre. It's a very bland look to it. So yeah, I know comedy is very I know it's, everybody likes different kind of comedies. They like different things.
Subjective.
Thank you. I almost said,
You almost said Sugoi, I think, and I was like, Sugoi Dekai indeed, Mandy. Sugoi...
I don't know what I was saying. My brain froze for a second, because look, guys, I'm trying to run a lot of things on this podcast.
Yeah. No worries.
Give me some patience. Anyways.
Le Petit de Corset. Oh, no.
Anyways, yeah, I didn't enjoy the first 3 episodes, and I'm definitely failing this one. I don't have drops for passes and fails. Sorry, but I'm sure Mitz will put one in.
Shame.
We'll make up our own.
I will say, because I watched the first episode of this as well, the one funny joke was at the very beginning when he's like, I'm doing stuff in college, and then every season he'd like, the guy just does nothing. He just bums around, and every season she's like, Ara, and then next season he's doing nothing. She's like, Ara, Ara.
Oh, you're right. I do remember that.
Ara, Ara,
Ara. You're right. That was funny.
That was the funniest part, and then from there it was just a steep decline to nothingness. So
I do know exactly what you're talking about. That one was really funny.
So that was it. You're welcome. I will put 20 seconds up, not that quick. Next one I'll go was my number 4 pick. It was called Umayon. This is the spin-off series of the surprisingly well done Uma Musume, which is the Horse Girl Pretty Derby. It's like the video game based work by PA Works from spring of 2018, and that show, unironically, surprisingly, I enjoyed it. It was like half sports, half idol, and it was just adorable, and it was a fun time. And I said, oh, there's a spin-off based on the 4 Coma. I'll give it a shot. And I thought it was going to be like half-length episodes, but it turned out to be like 3-minute long episodes, which is a little bit shorter than I was hoping for. And if you've not seen the original, there is no reason to check this out. It has no appeal for people who haven't seen it, and it doesn't have much appeal for those who have. There's like, I got a couple chuckles out of it, but essentially it just consists of the main character, Special Week, just being bullied for being stupid every episode. And not in a harsh way, but it's just she's dumb and it's kind of cute and she likes carrots. That's the joke. They're all kind of chibi blobs. They look like they were drawn in like Microsoft PowerPoint with like the shape tools. Like, they just don't look great. To spend any more time talking about it would actually be longer than like the episode. So like, at this point, if you've seen the show, watch episode 1, you'll get the point. But there's no reason to talk about it. Like, I'll probably finish it only because it's 3-minute episodes, and what else do I have going on with my life? But it's definitely not worth discussing any further. So this is going to be an easy drop.
What can we do? We can do that's a big pile of shit.
No. Yeah.
That's a big pile of shit. There you go. There's your drop.
Now what happened next, Mommy? What a load of horseshit.
What a load of horseshit. Alrighty, so the next one that I will do is God of High School. And this one I was actually kind of looking forward to. I think the 2 on my list that I put down is like really wanting to watch was God of High School and Great Pretender. So this one was originally a manhwa by Youngji Park. Again, I apologize if I mispronounce names. But it was available on the Line webcomic app. And it's being adapted by Studio Mappa. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, which they will not let you forget because there is Crunchyroll branding all over this damn anime.
Original by Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll presenting God of High School original.
Literally, the branding for Crunchyroll is in the anime, so you can tell that Crunchyroll had a big part of this because they are bringing it for more manhwa, which is absolutely cool. I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing. It's set for 13 episodes. The director is, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce this. It's Se-young-hoo Park, but he worked on Garo Vanishing Line, Jujutsu Kaisen, and he was a key animator in a variety of other shows. And also the ED is by a new South Korean boy band named CIX, so if you're into them, you can hear them on the ED for this. But so yeah, this one is there is this large mixed martial arts tournament called the God of High School, which is a terrible name. But it's where only specially chosen fighters can compete in. And the person who wins this tournament will have one wish granted. It's a very vague prize, just like a Tower of God. But our main protagonist, Jin Mori, is a teenage martial artist who lives in South Korea. And he is invited to participate in this contest. And as for like the first 3 episodes that I watched, which is, what I build my impression on, it feels just like a big tournament arc where each episode kind of features a different fight among the participants. And the first round is like a big giant kind of battle royale, just a big brawl to help weed out the weaklings. And so after that, whoever is left standing gets to go on to like a more typical tournament. And I have heard that this series continues on to have a bit of a more supernatural feel to it. This is just what I'm hearing. But as far as the first 3 episodes, though, I don't really see that. It just feels like they have, I don't know, it's very bare-boned and bland, the first 3 episodes. There's hardly any story to it. The animation is very good. It has some great fight scenes, and they do have a series on there on how they did it. It's all motion capped, so they do flow very well. But
it doesn't look rotoscoped.
No, it doesn't look rotoscope. No, it's motion capped.
It looks solid. Yeah.
Yeah. The action itself is something that I can definitely see people sticking around for. It is really good, but I feel like the character designs are not my favorite. They all kind of have like this like red nose effect, so they all look perpetually sick. The main character has kind of like star pupils in his eyes. It's also a design choice that I'm not a fan of. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the characters, for the most part, just feel very lackluster for me. Jin is very happy-go-lucky kind of fighter who is willing to, like, throw, like, a temper tantrum when he doesn't get to fight the person that he wants to. So he's kind of hard for me to root for. I just don't like him.
I get you.
And, like, a lot of the other side characters as far as, like, 3 episodes, I feel like I don't know anything about any of them. They just all, like, everything has just been fighting. And if you're into that, totally, I think this is a great series for you. If you are, if you kind of like that tournament arc style and you like really good action but don't necessarily need a good story to keep you around, I think you could really enjoy this one. I think visually it is a treat, but I don't know how we would review it really, and I don't have any hints here on like there's going to be a deeper story. I mean, I have to build my impression off just the first 3 episodes. So I am going to fail it because I don't know if I enjoyed the first 3 episodes. I was kind of bored watching it, but I think if you really like just good fighting animation, you can check it out. I think you could probably really enjoy it.
So I don't know who has read the webtoon and hasn't seen the series yet, but I watched episode 1 and I compared the webtoon to the anime. And if you are a fan of the webtoon, I have to imagine you are thrilled with the anime.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Comparing it side by side, it looks phenomenal. It looks kinetic. It's got that action, and it looks solid throughout. And I have to imagine people who read the webtoon are just like, yes, this is such a great adaptation, and are digging it. But I agree that lackluster is just like kind of the vibe I got from the first episode.
Yeah.
And if that's all it was, episode after episode after episode, I can see it getting stale. So
yeah,
very interesting.
This one is also still very popular. People are loving it, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets voted back with the listener poll. So I don't know, we might see it again, and maybe it will surprise me later on. But as of the first 3 episodes, I was like, I just don't see any reason for me to stick around.
How do you think it vibed with you compared to, only because they're both manhwa, with Tower of God? You know, both.
I was more intrigued by the mystery in Tower of God than I was with what am I trying to say? God of High School.
You feel like it already showed its whole hand. And you're like, okay, what more to the game is there? You know,
I almost said Kid of High School. Guys, that's a terrible name. Who names their anime God of High School? Anyways.
Boy of College.
Yeah, I'm failing that one. What is a good fail drop?
Captain Avatar reminded us of the "You Shall Not Pass" one.
You shall not pass. There you go.
That was really well done. I'm not even gonna try to match that.
They're all gonna get replaced anyways, probably.
No. Mitz loves us too much to not embarrass us.
True.
So my last impression of the day was my number one pick because, man, bad rolls, people, bad rolls. But it is Kanojo Okarimasu, also known as Kanokari, not to be confused with Kari Kano, aka Rent-A-Girlfriend. And this is based off a manga and done by TMS Entertainment, who recently did Fruits Basket and Dr. Stone. It tells a story about a college student named Kazuya who is dumped by his first ever girlfriend. And in his funk, in his depression, he turns to a service where one can, as the title implies, rent a girlfriend, which is a thing in the real world. Through this app, he meets Chizuru, a absolutely lovely girl who proceeds to, go on a date with this like weird blushing loser who kind of like falls for her, but then kind of realizes like at the end of the day, like, she's just here for money. It's kind of an act. Like, she's really not my girlfriend, and kind of like sees the false pretenses that he himself like paid into. And he's like, you know what, this isn't what I want. And he's like, I can't do this. This is just like not for me. Until, of course, relationship rom-com circumstances has both of them like tumbling into a situation where they kind of have to pretend to be in a relationship for the sake of appearances. And of course, they end up not only going to the same college, but are neighbors. So they constantly start seeing one another, even though they might not want to. And this, like I said, done by TMS Entertainment. And there's very little actual animation on display, and the character models don't look that quite right. Like, there's a lot of variation where, I don't know, it's just people look constantly off model, except for one shot where, spoilers, they go to the beach, and they put a lot of effort into detailing the amount of sand on a girl's butt. They're just like, we're gonna get all the particle physics in this shot. That's where our budget's going.
Gotta get the important parts, right?
Exactly. There's like a lot of text that they put on screen for like funny moments, but like it looks very lazy and like poorly composited. Like, it doesn't look part of the show in any way. So visually, this is not a great looking show. On the other hand, sound wise, the show is pretty fantastic, especially the vocal performances. Mainly the main girl, the Rent-A-Girlfriend Chizuru, is played by Sora Anayami, who was like Aqua from Konosuba, and the younger sister from Please Take My Brother Away. So she's got this like punchy, crass, like in-your-face reality like delivery when she's like not on the clock per se, and just like telling this guy off, and he's such a bum. Also, you have Aoyuki as like the sinister and sweet mommy, who's like the ex-girlfriend who's kind of sabotaging them. And I'm hyped for the future people that will be introduced, particularly now Toyoma is Ruka, who's going to be the best girl. I know this for a fact, despite knowing nothing about her. So I think you're going to have a lot of best girl debates, which is all the show is good for. Another thing, the girls have like a ton of like outfits that they wear throughout the show, and I'm a big sucker for that. I love when that happens. You see it a lot in like JC staff shows like Shirobako, or the one where they go to Monomaya. I'm blanking on the name of the show, but you know what I'm talking about, where people have like a whole wardrobe that they Sakura request.
I was just about to say.
You beat me to it in my mind. But yeah, I like when people have like a diverse outfit, and you really like learn about their personality through their outfit. So I like all the touches like that. But the big thing is the male MC of the show is an absolute goober. He's like top tier wet noodle. Like, he's just such an absolute loser. And to like have the girls, if like they were to fawn over him, like in a typical series, it would be frustrating, but everyone kind of realizes he's a loser. So I'm hoping no one falls for him, because he doesn't deserve it. And like, he constantly in the show like knows that he should like not be digging the hole of like telling lies, like she's actually my girlfriend, when he knows it's not true, or like he knows he should change his ways and be honest, and he like accepts that, but then never does anything about it. And it's like, that's accepting that you're doing something wrong isn't the first step. Like, if you, I don't know, want to learn Japanese, wanting to learn Japanese is not the first step. You actually need to start doing something. If you want to be healthier, deciding you want to be healthy is not the first step. You need to start sleeping or eating healthy or working out. Like, you need to do something to get to redeem yourself. And if he just says, I'm going to tell the truth, and then doesn't tell the truth, that's the same as not doing anything. And he's just an absolute mind-boggling person who's going to be frustrating to watch. And I've heard it only gets worse for him. So it's going to be that kind of like frustrating, like Masamune-kun's Revenge or Gamers, where it's just full of like awkward, terrible, like cringe moments where you're just like, oh my, people just don't be losers. On the other end of the spectrum, however, the best part is these amazing wingman grandmothers who are just hanging out in the hotel together. They're just being grand pals and adorable. Like, she's on her like phone playing, I don't know, pay to win MOBA games, and she's just like chatting up her son, like, hey man, like you can't blow this thing. Like, we're in this together, and you're a loser, and we're gonna get you through this. Like, she's amazing. The grandmothers are amazing. Best part to watch the show. But like, so the romance isn't that great. It's frustrating, and the comedy is just like frustrating. And it like where the show succeeds is like these real honest moments of like family dynamics or depth. Like they have these like, sorry, I'm going along, but these like passages where like it's genuine and it's heartfelt, and it's like, wow, like this is what a lot of shows are missing in this rom-com thing, and it makes you like, maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's something to this show.
I'm anticipating. I have no idea how this is going to end.
Always undercut with a bad comedic moment where he's like, I need to turn it around. I need to get my life in order. And she's like, yeah. And I might be the girl to help you do that. And he's like, really? And go to hug her. And she'll be like, nope. And just like kick him in the face. And it's like, what did that accomplish? And it's like the crowning pinnacle of comedy is they'll be like, man, how is it being a virgin? He's like, man, I masturbated a lot. And they're like, virgin's gonna virgin. Ha ha ha. That's the joke. It's like the equivalent of saying like, boys will be boys. Like, that's not a joke. That's not a comeback. That's just a bad saying. They're just like relying on it. Like, I don't know. There's so many good moments of the show with terrible execution. And I don't know, like compared to other harem shows like Nisekoi, this is such an inferior show. But like, people who like these kind of shows, it will scratch that itch and they will love it. And
I don't know if this is going to pass or fail. I have no idea.
Honestly, if this was any other season, this would absolutely be a fail. But like, considering what else is coming out of the spigot, like, I'm just looking for the scraps, and I don't think we're going to get much better than this.
Not true. I've got one that I think is better.
I think yours is better, but I feel like I have to pass something, and this, I don't know. I think we'll at least have a lot to talk about. So I guess I'm going to make the second worst decision of my life since passing One Punch Man Season 2 and pass Rent a Girlfriend for the memes, for the best waifu rankings, and for the absolute shit show that is awaiting us. I'm sorry, everybody, but I'm passing it.
It's pretty good.
pretty meh.
Pretty meh.
So I think we'll have opinions on it, and feel free to crucify me when I'm wrong.
Alrighty, well, mine I'm actually excited for. I really like this show. So that is The Great Pretender, which was my number one choice, and I'm excited because I actually really enjoyed what I watched of it so far. So this one is being adapted by Wit Studio, and it will be a Netflix exclusive, so it is not out yet legally, but it is coming soon. I just don't know when. But it is set for 23 episodes, so I don't know if Netflix will release it in like parts. I have no idea how it's going to work. But it is being directed by Hiro Kaburagi, who worked on Hoseki no Reitetsu and 91 Days, Kimi ni Todoke, and he was, I believe, like special, like a guest director on a bunch of other stuff and key animator. But yeah, so this one is about conmen, and Makoto, our main character, is a conman, and starts off pretty low profile. He like we see at the very beginning of the first episode, cons a woman into thinking that she needs a water filter when she definitely doesn't need one, just to get money out of her. And then later on, he sees a foreigner in town and thinks that he's going to be an easy target. And so he attempts conning him into thinking that he found a wallet full of money and hoping that like the foreigner's greed will cause him to like say, oh yeah, that's my wallet, and give him a reward for finding his wallet. But of course the wallet is filled with fake money, and so it's not, he's doing very, very tiny little crimes that not large profile.
Fun crimes,
yeah. But this foreigner is named Laurent, and he is wise. He knows what's happening, but he plays along with it. And because Laurent is a professional at this, he is a professional at the art of conning people out of money. And so he wants to bring Makoto into his schemes and starts with the task of trying to sell fake drugs to an infamous millionaire in Los Angeles, Hollywood. So a much bigger crime, a lot more potential for danger. But so of course things don't go as planned, and so their lie that they tell just continues to grow, because they tried to pass off like hard candy as hardcore drugs to this millionaire, and the way that they present it seems very for him very believable, because he has other people in his little band of conmen who help him out, and a lot of friends in his little business, and they all help these jobs happen. But so after this planned lie, or this planned con doesn't go the way that he expected to, and how dangerous it is, Makoto's not enthusiastic about continuing. He kind of wants out. So there are a lot of episodes up right now. I watched 8 episodes so far, and I was going to blow through the rest of what's available, which I believe is 16-ish. So, but I put it aside because there were some other things that I wanted to watch. So yeah, I definitely did watch past the 3 episodes because I was really enjoying it. And it's the art is so vibrantly colorful. I love the art and all the character designs as well. The animation is really well done. The cities all look believable. They're all packed with little details. All of the characters we have met so far are shrewd, but they're also playful as well. I haven't met anyone who's just very obnoxious. But Lauren's team also has some very strong women on it who enjoy playing like the deceitful pretender, and they're all skilled at persuasion. Man, my mouth is just a mess today. I can't pronounce anything right. Anyways, but the ED is also, of course, Eddie Mercury's Great Pretender, and it's animated with singing cats. It's kind of like a tribute to him. So, so far, I've loved what I've watched so far, and I can't wait to watch more. I'm probably going to binge through the rest of what's available, and then watch it again when Netflix finally releases it. So, I'm excited, and I'm definitely going to pass this one. This is, out of everything this season, I think this was the only easy one for me to pass. So I was like, everything else, I'm like, I guess if we're desperate, but Great Pretender, absolutely loving it, and even in a normal season, I would probably pass this one because I really love it. So yeah. What drop can we give that one? What's another good drop?
What's the
what was the oh yes, can you feel it? I don't know.
I think what you said near the end said it best. Like, even in another season, this would pass. Mm-hmm. And I think like that's kind of a low bar to clear, but also like it's definitely true. Like, it's a solid show, and I think visually just alone it's worth watching. So
yeah, no,
definitely. We've got Great Pretender and Rent a Girlfriend as the 2 passes so far from the season. So
yeah, and I'm sure God High School is gonna come back because people are really loving that one.
I think so.
But yeah, thanks for sticking around, guys. Sorry we did run long, and I mispronounced a ton of stuff today. I apologize. I am running a lot of equipment, so
Yeah,
Thank
Mandy
you.
gets an excuse. I have no excuse, and I probably butchered every word I said. So, thank you for dealing with us.
Yeah, thanks for your patience, and we love you. And I'm sure Mitz will be back next weekend, and he'll talk all about his trip. We are going to be doing an after party today, and so stick around if you're watching live. And yeah, my Twitter handle is now Hunter
Is that what
X.
they call it?
Mandy X Mandy is now my Twitter name, so come follow me. Mason.
And I'm Macy Pacey. You can find me over there. And it's a ton of fun. Join us on Discord. Don't forget that's the best place to go and hang out with your friends, watch parties, manga club, anime club, and all the good stuff. And I don't know, we appreciate you guys. So thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Love ya. Bye. Go watch something by Shaft.